Well, there were a few articles, I guess I should. I'm just going to make quick mention. Biden last week came up with some new Title IX rules. And basically what he did, despite the hysteria over sites like that Damn Fools on Over It and other places, what he basically did was undo what Trump did. You know, giving all kinds of cover for colleges and sexual harassers and all that stuff, making it harder for victims to really make a case, that kind of stuff. But they're going off because they hate Biden, even though your choice is Biden or Trump. Okay, there's no other option in this election, and women's rights are not just limited to tranny infiltration. It's also abortion, reproductive rights, which some of the dipshits on Over It think, oh, that ship has sailed. Oh, that's not that important. God damn, how stupid can you get? How damn stupid can you get? Most women see it. See how damn important it is and how it connects with everything else. Their right to public space. But they just go on and on and on, and they didn't read it because this proposal, because it's like 1,000 pages. And USA Today gave a very truncated version of what is in there. And they do provide a link, and I'll provide the link for you, the direct link, if you actually want to wade through 1,000 pages there. But what it says here is schools and school employees across America will be impacted in the fall by new changes in a rule that affects all federally funded schools. Practically, it is a sweeping update to how schools will have to handle sex discrimination and abuse cases. Politically, it's part of a power struggle between the Trump and Biden administrations. What's new? The Biden administration released a new set of rules this week, overhauling Trump administration's Title IX rules, which gave more rights to alleged perpetrators of sexual assault and harassment. Remember, Betsy DeVos was all big on that. And she's hollering and screaming about how bad it is that Biden's administration decided to throw that in the garbage. The new rules also stipulate further protections for the alphabet soup students as well as parenting and pregnant students. Pregnant students. Okay. What is Title IX? Actually, that should be mothers. Mothers and pregnant women. What is Title IX? Title IX is a federal civil rights law that bans sex discrimination against students, employees, and others at public schools, colleges, and universities that receive federal funding. What are some of the old rules? For cases of sexual assault, they stipulated that schools only had to investigate claims that met a certain threshold of sex discrimination and were made through a formal reporting process. It also raised the bar of proof for sexual misconduct on college campuses. They prohibited the investigation of cases that occurred off campus. Why does the change matter? Critics argued the Trump-era rules prevented people accused of sexual harassment, assault, or discrimination from facing repercussions. Supporters contended the rules rightly strengthened due process protections for accused students and faculty members. Schools can cover their ass, okay? When it comes to money, money always wins with the right. Biden's new Title I rules will affect people on the nation's school campuses starting in August. What happened this week? The Biden administration's new set of guidance overhauls Trump-era rules that in part narrowed which and how schools could investigate sex discrimination cases. President Joe Biden, in his 2020 presidential campaign, vowed to overturn the changes made under Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, and she was a disaster. The new rules expand the definition of sexual assault and harassment. That means schools could investigate more cases of discrimination, abuse, or harassment filed by people on school campuses under the scope of the law. College student survivors will no longer be required to attend live hearings or go through cross-examinations, and people will be given the right to prompt and equitable grievance procedure, the rule reads. The alphabet soup students will be guaranteed protection under the law if they are discriminated against for their gender identity or sexual orientation. And this is where the con artists on the right and the damn GI fools are going into the what ifs. That, oh, it's gonna integrate the sports. Oh, it's gonna do this. It's going to do this. It's going to do this. But Biden's administration very cleverly didn't address that head on. Pregnant and parenting students. I wish I'd quit saying that. Pregnant women and mothers who might receive unwanted sexual attention, shame, or punishment at schools will also be granted more protections from sex discrimination in the admissions process and on campus. These final regulations build on the legacy of Title IX by clarifying that all our nation's students can access schools that are safe, welcoming, and respect their rights. And that's by the U.S. Secretary of Education. The rule changes have a wide range of effects on students, and you can read that. Ruling on the TRAs, or the transgender so-called, student participation in sports remains unsettled. The Biden administration did not rule on whether these people can participate in sports team. In other words, males can cheat on women's teams. They sidestepped that. But everybody's drawing conclusions based on the other part of discrimination. So they cleverly pushed that aside. Okay, for the time being. They had released a proposed rule in April 2023 that said schools and colleges largely could not ban non-binary and transgender students from sports teams, but that was not what they were going to do. So that's actually what it is. Okay, there's a lot of what-ifs and shitting all over the Biden administration, and that is not acceptable as far as I'm concerned, because the good about him far outweighs the warts. Okay, so that's that. And then there was that damn cheat. There was another cheat. And oh, by the way, yes, he won his, I think this was the one that won his court case. So this little 13-year-old cheater who calls himself Becky Pepper Jackson competed in the shot put. Now, you know damn well girls and women in no way can compete with males. Especially in sports that require upper body strength. So sure, he won the shot put by more than 3 feet. Of course. He's a male. And a court had ruled that West Virginia's sports ban of male cheaters, ruled it under Title IX. Of course, Title IX has nothing to do with that. Pepper Jackson took home first place in the shot put competition with his 32-foot effort, 3 feet further than second place, and he placed second in discus. Despite being legally allowed to compete, some athletes protested, which is what you have to do, Pepper Jackson's participation by refusing to play against him. 5 girls from Lincoln Middle School stepped up to the circle for their turn, then refused to throw the ball. Thank you, girls. Thank you for risking what you need to do. They refused to compete. That's what you have to do. But yeah, it is a sad day, as Riley Gaines says, when 13, 14-year-old girls have to be the adults in the room. But I couldn't be more inspired by and proud of these girls. And that's what I'm saying. I'm hard as hell on this stuff, but we're really up against it in this country. We can't afford this wedge politics shit. Okay, and so there was that. And then this damn thing. Ah, shit. I hate these goddamn motherfucking things. Okay, this thing was scary as hell. And this was mentioned, I think it was Radical Ramblings had mentioned this, that YouTube channel. And I tell you, I've mentioned I have great-grandnieces who are now in their teens. One's 16, the other's 14. And I am scared as hell for them because of this trend of strangulation. Well, hell, the anal. All the stuff that women get nothing out of but humiliation and bodily harm. They get nothing out of it. And who the hell proposed the idea that this was at all acceptable? That this did anything for them? So now they're going 4B in the United States. You know, with the South Korean women have said no to all this damn shit. And the birth rates are plummeting. Well, it's going to happen here because the males can't get it together. They cannot get it together at all about this stuff. And it was just scary as hell. Just a scary read. And they keep calling it rough sex. It's rape. It's assault. It's domestic violence. It's not rough sex. It's not sex at all. It's violence. It's rape. It's attempted murder. We need to call it what it is. Quit sugarcoating what this stuff is. But the more girls have to walk away from it. They have to walk away from dating. They have to walk away from it. They just have to. And yes, not all men do this, but hell's bells. Who the hell can tell which ones are into it and which ones aren't? It's scary shit. I'm glad. This is a time when I'm glad that I'm pushing 70. That I'm not in my teens. And going through this. It just upset the hell out of me. And anyway, if teens are having sex at all anymore, which that's down the tube. And who knows how much of that there really was. There was probably a lot more of it in the 50s. You know, because it was verboten to have quote-unquote premarital sex. There was probably more of that than there is now. Probably a lot more of that. And then you have in Slate, and they're pushing this shit. You know, what kind of woman has a whole slew of kids? What kind of woman is that stupid, that selfish, that whatever, that she would have 5, 6, 7 kids, 10 kids? What kind of damn fool does that? It's horrible. This is a horrible damn idea that this is even being proposed or anything. And what's this thing about the book? The women quietly, Hannah's children, the women quietly defying the birth dearth. Why is that Ben Wattenberg crap still being proposed? Still being peddled? This is a crock of shit. Regnery, of course. Regnery puts it out. Of course. But who the hell's reading this shit? But you think that this big families are great? Ask the kids about it. Ask kids who are the products of big families. In the 50s, let me tell you, because I was one of 7. And actually there were 13. At least 13 pregnancies in that mom and dad. Because, you know, they didn't use birth control back then. Or it was very unreliable. And so 7 of us survived. And 5 of us, maybe only 4 of us now, are still alive. But let me tell you, it isn't fun being part of a big family. It isn't fun having a mother who was controlling because she didn't have a life outside of that stuff. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing good. You get gypped out of the attention you should have if you were like you are, or you should have, in a smaller family. You don't have that. You get lost in the shuffle. There's nothing good about it. This is selfish. This is absolutely irresponsible to have big families, given the world already has too damn many people as it is. And this shit's being peddled. It's being peddled, well, because the powers that be, the men, the white males are all upset because they're losing ground. And so they try to push this shit as an alternative. And you get women that write crap books about it. And no thanks, I'm not reading that book. I'm in the middle of reading, I've already mentioned, reading the Turnaway Study. And that's a hell of a lot more relevant than trying to peddle great big families. Holy shit. It's like, it defies any kind of common sense. Why you would throw your life away doing nothing but breeding. You want to help kids? There are other ways to do it. But not put further strain on the planet. And not screw your kids over because you can't devote enough time to them. Or you do like my parents were guilty of. You played favorites. You played favorites with certain kids. And so that triggered the hell out of me to read that shit. And thinking that there's anything good about that. Having a whole slew of kids. Anyway, so that's going to be about it for me. I am just absolutely exhausted. I don't know. I've got 7 more weeks of this damn school year. And then we get a note from the mobile home management. Oh, we got to get this yard all whatever, tolerable. And I mean, I could go on talking about the joys of family life. I could go on about that. But I don't dare, just in case family happens to see this video. Oh, and I guess one more thing I should address is that Supreme Court case. And there's one where they're talking about homelessness. And that is right in, almost in my backyard. And this right in front of the Supreme Court, right by it. Why do they keep calling the far right conservatives? I've seen this. Even Jessica Valenti uses that word conservative. She doesn't even know what the hell that is. She's too young to know what the hell that is. No, they're not conservative. Nobody's conserving shit. But anyway, it's Grants Pass versus Johnson. And let's see. Supreme Court appears to side with Oregon City's crackdown. And it probably will. They cracked down here in Medford with the Greenway on all the homeless tents. And they had to relocate them. And I can tell you, riding the bike Saturday on the Greenway, there were lots of families out. And there was virtually nothing. Virtually no street people. So they cracked down on it pretty good. Because it was bad right after COVID. And here it says, in a major case on homelessness, the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday appeared to side with an Oregon City's crackdown on sleeping in public. The decision could have sweeping implications for the record number of people living in tents and cars. What they need to do is provide more housing. I mean, that's pretty much a given. The Supreme Court had declined to hear a similar case out of Boise, Idaho in 2019. But since then, the rates of homelessness have spiked. An annual federal count found more than 250,000 people living in parks, on streets, and in their vehicles. I probably bet it's a lot more than that. Sprawling street encampments have grown larger and expanded to new places, igniting intense backlash from residences and businesses. Well, they're not building enough affordable housing, and when they did all this moratorium shit on evictions, it was even worse. The current case centers on the small city of Grants Pass, Oregon, which is about, half-hour away from here, which has a population of just under 40,000 and is a symbol of just how widespread the homeless problem has become. A slew of other cities and states led by Democrats and Republicans alike urged the justices to take up this issue. Housing is going to be a huge issue in the coming years. This is something I'm facing. In both the Boise and Grants Pass cases, lower courts said that under the 8th Amendment, it's cruel and unusual to fine or jail someone for sleeping on public land if there is no adequate shelter available. But Grants Pass and many other cities across the West say those rulings have tied their hands as they try to keep their public spaces open and safe. Grants Pass has no public shelter, but its local law essentially banned people from sleeping with a blanket or pillow on any public land at any time. So it's kind of extreme, sounds like. During Monday's arguments, the Supreme Court's more liberal justices suggested this amounts to unlawfully targeting people simply because they're homeless. You don't arrest babies who have blankets over them. You don't arrest people who are sleeping on the bench, said Justice Sotomayor. Justice Kagan said, sleeping is not a criminal act. Sleeping is a biological necessity. It's sort of like breathing, but I wouldn't expect you to criminalize breathing in public. Don't give them ideas. But the court's right-wing justices said it can be hard to draw the line between someone's conduct, which can be legally punished, and a status they are unable to change, which cannot be punished. How if there are no public bathroom facilities? Oh, Neil asked. Gorsuch. Do people have an Eighth Amendment right to defecate and urinate? Is that conduct or is that status? Over and over, the right-wing justices said homelessness is a complex policy problem and questioning whether courts like theirs should micromanage it. Well, it didn't stop him from micromanaging abortion. Why would you think that these 9 people are the best people to judge and weigh those policy judgments? Chief Justice Roberts asked. Well, they're going to do it because they're going to do whatever Leonard Leo tells them to do. So anyway, yeah, that's going on. So, anyhow, that's about it for me. It's too long-winded right now, so I'm done.